Looking at the Markets with David Modell.
Welcome to Looking at the Markets with David Modell. As I see it, the traditional unhealthy alternatives out there are in big trouble, such as conventional cigarettes, tobacco, that kind of thing. And it's being replaced very quickly by better alternatives, such as TAAT global alternatives. And today I have Mr. Seti Coscarella, former Philip Morris international strategist and CEO of TAAT Global Alternatives, Inc. Mr. Coscarella, welcome to Looking at the Markets, sir.
Thank you for having me, David.
Yeah, appreciate it. Can't wait to get your expertise on all these questions. So TAAT Global, they present an alternative, a healthy alternative, healthier, I should say, in my opinion, and more cost-effective alternative to traditional tobacco companies. First of all, you come from Philip Morris with your experience. What problems and challenges did you find for the conventional tobacco market?
Well, there's actually quite a few of them. Now, while at Philip Morris, excuse me, while at Philip Morris, I spent a lot of time working with smokers. And a lot of that was done to better understand what it is they like about smoking, what they don't like about smoking. And one of the main things that most smokers, if not all of them, hate about smoking is the fact that it's addictive. And yet, when you take a look at the tobacco companies or any other sort of alternative in the market, it's still overly reliant on delivering nicotine, which is highly addictive and otherwise useless. So, when I kind of took a look at the industry as a whole, I said, well, it's kind of awkward that you have a whole industry vertical that's overly reliant on delivering an addiction in order to sell their product when no other CPG product has to do that. The example I usually use is if you take sort of the tobacco industry and you overlay it on top of the alcohol industry, all the consumers would effectively be alcoholics. Now, the alcohol industry does just fine without relying on all of its consumers being alcoholics, and as does every other CPG company. So why can't we take that sort of model and apply it to the tobacco model or the tobacco industry and say, hey, we want to give smokers something that they can enjoy that isn't addictive, but will still satiate them in the same way that a cigarette would. And that's really what TAAT is at its core. We're able to give smokers a product that will behave like a cigarette, will taste like a cigarette, will satisfy them like a cigarette, but won't be addictive. And I think that ultimately helps solve a massive problem with the industry that nobody else is looking at.
Interesting. So many benefits over traditional tobacco and cigarettes. What are the cost benefits for the consumer of using TAAT products as opposed to conventional tobacco products?
So when you take a look at the way the tobacco industry is structured, a lot of the cost associated with purchasing cigarettes is because of taxation. Now, the way that the regulatory framework is designed, it's typically done so around a plant or a drug. So it's either done for tobacco or nicotine, or in most cases, both. The beauty about something like TAAT is that it's neither tobacco nor does it contain nicotine, and therefore it does not trip any of the regulations that exist for the category. As such, we're not subject to any of those taxes. Therefore, we're able to pass those savings on to the consumer and give them a product that'll be fundamentally cheaper than any of the leading brands that are in the market today.
Excellent. Now, I want to be crystal clear about what goes into a TAAT alternative type of product to tobacco products. What are these alternative cigarettes made of?
So they're predominantly made out of hemp. And while there are hemp cigarettes that currently exist in the market, they'll all have a flavor profile similar to cannabis. What we've been able to do is figure out how to transform the flavor profile of hemp and instead make it taste more like tobacco. And I think that if we want to go after this market, which is astronomically large, taste is a very important thing that needs to be solved. And I think we've been able to effectively achieve that.
Yeah.
So our product, while it contains hemp, will behave like a cigarette or a tobacco-based cigarette in terms of taste and experience. Now, one of the main differences, again, between us and a tobacco-based cigarette is tobacco is going to deliver nicotine. We, on the other hand, are going to deliver CBD because one of our primary ingredients is hemp. CBD has the ability to satiate what smokers actually experience, which is a nicotine withdrawal. So the way nicotine works, nicotine's got a half-life of about 45 minutes. And after that, smokers typically feel a bit agitated. They go outside, they have a cigarette to calm down. Well, smoking doesn't calm you down. Smoking just takes you out of a state of withdrawal because that's what happens physiologically. Our product, on the other hand, will still give you the same sensation and taste profile of a cigarette, but instead of triggering an addiction response, will deliver CBD, which has shown to have the ability to calm people down. So the net effect for a smoker is very similar, if not better, all without having to trigger a nicotine addiction.
Interesting. Now, what states in the United States are TAAT products available right now?
So online, they're available in most of the U.S., outside of certain states that still may have a ban on combustible hemp. There's a handful of them. But otherwise, in brick and mortar right now, we're currently in Ohio, in Illinois, and Georgia, and we're aggressively pursuing opening up numerous other states in the coming months.
Yeah, and could there be global aspirations in the works at some point?
I think we're already there. In the recent past, we signed a deal with a large distributor out in the UK and Ireland to start bringing the product there. Our first shipment is en route, and we're going to look at trying to establish a toehold position in the UK and then expand out throughout continental Europe. And we've already started fielding a number of calls from interested parties in the continent that have tried the product and think it's tremendous, and definitely believe that the market they currently service would be would very much well receive the TAAT product once it becomes available there.
Yeah, so that global takeover is already in progress. And I've
trying.
read that this is the tobacco market right now globally is valued at $925 billion. That's billion with a B.
That's right.
How could that translate to revenues and profits for TAAT in terms of gaining market share, or I should say, taking away market share from traditional tobacco?
Well, listen, the beauty about this particular industry is that it is so enormous. I mean, I kind of call it the Mount Everest of markets, right? And to put it in comparison, tobacco is approaching $1 trillion a year. Bottled water, on the other hand, is about $250 billion a year. So tobacco is almost 4 times the size of water. That's how big the market is. For us, as we're just getting off the ground now, I mean, our target goal would be to try to capture 0.5% of the market. So 1 out of 200 smokers. And when you take a look at the size of the market, that would equate to almost $50 billion a year in sales. And I'm not saying that's going to happen in the near term, but as a goal, I think that is tremendous. And again, for us, that doesn't mean sort of ubiquitous acceptance at all. It means 199 smokers out of 200 probably don't like or won't buy the product. So really, with a product like ours and the value proposition we're providing to the consumers, you really got to ask yourself, do you think more than 1 out of 200 people would give it a shot?
Yeah, and I think the answer is definitely going to be a yes. People are giving it a chance already. The sales are already quite robust, and the production facility, I understand, is quite huge. TAAT has a production facility in Las Vegas that converts hemp biomass into the flavored smoking material. How big is this production facility, and how much is being produced?
Well, it's quite large. I just went to go visit it a couple of weeks ago. It is definitely large. We're starting to outfit it with all of the machinery that we need, and we're definitely in the process of producing now. We've also been very fortunate to land a number of great partners that can help expand the production. So in the tobacco side, there's basically 2 segments. There's primary and secondary. So the primary piece is done in-house, and that's where we're able to transform the hemp biomass into something that'll behave more so like tobacco. And then there's the secondary piece, which is the rolling and packaging of the cigarettes, and we've outsourced that to a contract manufacturer that had some excess capacity. And I think between the two, we're definitely able to start satiating the initial demand in the market. And as we start to grow, then there's always the issue of, all right, do you want to continue outsourcing and do you want to bring in-house? But as we establish demand, then those are the capital decisions that we'll start to make. And yeah, I think based on how things have been going so far, the setup that we have is definitely working.
Yeah, and I definitely want people to check out taatglobal.com, TAAT global.com. I'll put a link in the description below this video. And if people want to learn about the stock, which is super cheap right now on the CSE exchange, it is TAAT, and on the OTC markets, it is TOBAF. And
Correct.
I have learned that the second quarter 2021 financial results for TAAT were absolutely outstanding. Over 300% sequential revenue growth. You don't see that type of number very often. How is this going to continue? Can it continue in future quarters at this pace?
Listen, I think that we have the ability to do so because, again, I mean, if this is sort of the Mount Everest of markets, we're barely getting to base camp right now. So our Q1 was about 165,000 in revenue. Q2 was just shy of 700,000 in revenue. You're trying to tackle a market that's $1 trillion a year. So yeah, I think there's ample room to run, and we're running as fast as we can to try to capture as much of it as we can.
I like that. I might steal that one. The Mount Everest of markets. It is huge, yes. And you're climbing it very quickly. So what is next? What should we look forward to in this new quarter, the third quarter, for TAAT?
Well, I think for us, one of our primary focuses is trying to expand as quickly as we can throughout the U.S. There's about 400,000 points of sale there. We're in just north of 500 now. So we definitely want to aggressively pursue more ubiquitous distribution throughout the U.S., and I think we're well on our way in doing so. And then shortly thereafter, we'll also build a concerted effort to commercializing in the U.K. and then more broadly across continental Europe. So I think in the short to medium term, we have a wealth of opportunity in front of us. And again, we're going to do everything we possibly can to capitalize on it because we're starting to get a number of inbound calls from various countries around the world that, I've heard about the product, think that the value proposition is great, that their consumers would benefit from them carrying it. So, we want to try to capitalize on that momentum quickly.
I definitely wanted to highlight this company and this stock in the video, and I'm so glad I got to speak with Mr. Seti Coscarella, CEO of TAAT Global Alternatives. Check out the website, TAAT Global, TAAT global.com. Links in the description below this video. And make your own decisions, do your own due diligence. But if you believe in the company like I do, check out the stock, TAAT on the CSE, TOBAF on the OTC markets. Mr. Coscarella, we're going to have you come back again when the share price is probably much higher, but still will be an opportunity. Thank you for coming on to Looking at the Markets, sir.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.